Let's bring in Arkansas Republican and House Intelligence Chairman Rick Crawford for more on this. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. So the president has warned Iran on a number of occasions that he will take action if Iran crosses the red line of killing protesters. It appears that they're over that line. Listen to what Reza Pahlavi, who is the exiled crown prince of Iran, told our Brett Baer last night. Listen to this.
What is the number? That
About 12,000 plus.
12,000 plus.
That's what we get so far. It might be more, but that's the minimum number that we know so far have been
Killed by the regime. This is not arrested. This is killed.
We are talking about using military weapons, AK-47s, armored trucks to shoot to kill unarmed protesters. Their bodies are being picked up by bulldozers, and they charge each family for the bullet to be able to just retrieve the remains.
So, Congressman, what do you think the president should do in response to what we're seeing there?
Well, he's got a laundry list of options that are available to him, but I think the question here is if those numbers are accurate, 12,000 killed, this borders on genocide, and I guess where is the outrage from our European allies? Where is the outrage from the United Nations? This is cataclysmic. This is not something that can stand. This should be an international attention getter, and I think the president knows that. And to your point earlier, across the red line, are you concerned about what action he may be taking? Well, why don't you have that conversation with Nicolas Maduro and see if he still thinks that a red line didn't exist, because they do exist. The president has prescribed those. Now it's a question of what action is he going to take.
You mentioned where is the outrage about all this? I'm wondering, where is the outrage on college campuses? All those people that took to the streets and were rabble-rousing for the Palestinians. Do they not care about the Iranians?
100%. I mean, this is a demonstrable genocide as opposed to a rhetorical one. And so the outrage is just, I mean, I guess it's perfectly okay if you support Hamas, but it's not okay if you support the Iranian people who are crying out for freedom.
Right, because they would like to see the demise of Hamas as part of getting rid of the Iranian regime. These are difficult pictures to look at. These are body bags lining the streets of cities in Iran, protesters who have been killed by the regime. Grieving relatives all over. So many people have lost loved ones, and they do not, whether they're Iranians there in Iran or the Iranian diaspora here in the United States, they do not want to see those deaths be in vain. Right. Should Congress do anything here?
Well, I think Congress must at least be observing what's taking place here and be prepared. If the president asks for some congressional action, we should be prepared to take it and recognize that the president is acting forthrightly and in the interest not only of America, but the Iranian people and the people in the region, as well as the rest of the world. I mean, my goodness, 12,000 dead because the Ayatollah doesn't like their politics. It's time for this regime to end, and the oppression of the Iranian people needs to stop.
So I want to ask you something. This really falls to your role in the Intelligence Committee, because you see this information, you get these predictions and projections. Replacing the current regime with a West-friendly regime probably would be a very good thing for Iran, but there's a lot of question as to what could come next if the mullahs were to be toppled. Would it be the Shah's son triumphantly goes back to Iran? Would it be the National Council for Resistance in Iran, which used to be the once designated terror group, the MEK? Could the IRGC take over in some sort of military operation? What are you being told could happen if the mullahs were to be toppled?
Well, we've not been briefed on what the potential outcomes might be and if that becomes the case. But I think you have to allow some sort of opportunity for the Iranian people to organically make that decision on their own. So we should stand ready to ensure that a self-determination process exists in Iran, allow them to make that decision on their own, not leave it to IRGC to take control if and when the mullahs are toppled, or leave it to some other disparate group that might be aligned with terrorists.
Well, Congressman, there's a sense that something may be afoot with the evacuations of military bases in the region, and a lot of talk that the president may be just about on the edge of doing something. We'll see. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.